Yeah, well, there's an awful lot of fantasy going on when it comes to the moon.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's where the term lunatic comes from.
And then we have this video of all these waves going across the moon as well. And it's crazy, you know. People have taken this from different parts of the world. There's that JW Astronomy.
Yes.
And there's this other fella here that's doing it, Take Back Space. He's catching it, and this wave's going all the way across the moon, and then it goes up like this, and it goes around the moon, and it almost looks like somebody's throwing a shield up over it. It's just the strangest thing, but I still think that that's the camera doing that. Yeah, and the frame rate. You get the two mixed together, and you're going to have... It's the same thing like seeing a helicopter stand in the air because you've got the frame rate correct, and then add the atmospheric elements to it, and I think that's probably what it is.
No different than if you're looking into water and there's a little ripple on it, it distorts it. We've got an atmosphere that's going to do that kind of distortion.
The moon's not supposed to have an atmosphere, though. That's what we're told. Oh,
no,
wait
it's
a minute.
our
No, it's in Earth's atmosphere. That's right. Oh, I forgot the Earth's atmosphere.
Yes, because the moon goes into the Earth's magnetosphere, or the magneto-tail, we're told. Therefore, it's all going to change. But isn't it interesting how all these scientific organizations, the scientists who have got PhDs and doctorates and have studied science for as long as they've been around, they still believe what they read about Apollo as being 100% accurate, correct, and anybody who disagrees with them must be a complete lunatic. Yeah. They're the lunatics because they don't examine it. They don't do what scientists are supposed to do, examine what they're being told, whether they can correct it, whether they can prove it's true, whether they can confirm it or falsify it. They don't do that. They just accept what they're told and run with it. That's not science. That's propaganda.
The propaganda is when they stick it in a PDF file and publicly put it out there. And they've been doing that with radiation forever. They will not give the correct numbers.
Because they don't dare give the correct numbers. Because as soon as they do that, we're going to say, well, how did humans survive those levels of radiation? And as soon as you ask that question, you're a conspiracy theorist.
There's got to be something to it, because look at what happened when they first started looking for radiation. They put a sensor up there and it destroyed the sensor.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're a little more hardy than the human body is.
What James Van Allen said in his Scientific American article, which was the first publication that he had created, he said, humans are going to need protection. Space is radioactive. Well, as humans haven't gone into space, much beyond the 400-mile record for the repair to the Hubble Space Telescope, we'll never know. And what's the result? Oh, it's classified. We can't tell you that. Why is it classified? It's a natural event. It shouldn't be classified. It's classified because the release of the real information would so embarrass NASA and demonstrate that what we've been saying for years is correct, that humans can't travel unprotected, which they weren't, in space and survive. It can't happen. And now all the latest developments, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Indians, the Russians and the Americans are finding out that what was told to them about Apollo is a fraud, it's a fabrication. It was a political necessity to do so. That's fine, that's not a problem. But don't now try to create something which didn't exist. You won't get very far and you'll get dead astronauts. You don't want dead astronauts, you want live astronauts. And now they're finding out there's a real problem, not just with radiation, but with vacuum, and with even getting humans beyond the Van Allen belts. Even Al Bean didn't know he'd gone beyond the Van Allen belts until he was told. I think.
Did he go through them?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember going through them. Oh, yeah, if you close your eyes, you could see little white flashes. Then he comes out with the next and said, well, we were taught to do that. We were taught to look for it.
You know what, Marcus, this is the thing that's the funniest about what this video is that we're going to have a look at right now, is that these guys are saying their new suits, they're going to be testing them out in space. What do? They take them, test them in water, and instead of having tanks in the back of them that they're going to test 100%, because if they're not going to work in space, they're not going to work in water, vice versa. So what do? They take oxygen hoses and hook them up to the surface so these guys can breathe. What the hell kind of test is this? They didn't even take the scuba tanks with them. They should have put them in the back of the packs, right? You think?
Of course they should.
Then they make a mock-up of the lunar surface underwater.
Oh, that's clever.
They've created underwater regolith for them to walk on, and they include a golf ball. Because that's what you would find on the lunar surface, wouldn't you?
So here we are. These guys are now testing these new spacesuits out.
Oh,
And-
good.
Yeah. See, now there's the regolith, there's the rock right there. And
Yep.
they put a golf ball on there to remind them. Now, isn't this interesting that they've got the backpacks on, they've got their so-called PLSSs on?
Yep.
Why on earth would they need hoses to the surface to give them the oxygen supply that they require when they should be in the pack? They should not be having that hose connected to the surface if they're going to be testing it. Oh, of course, you have to have an MET cart.
Of course you do. Yeah, and you got the slow pace of the astronauts because they all trained underwater, and that's how you walk underwater. It's quite slow.
And then, of course, there's Neil Armstrong's footprint underwater. They have to have that there, too.
Of course they do. Yeah, that's set in plaster.
Now, friends, let's have a look at this golf ball. This is to remind them that they once golfed on the so-called moon. Well, I'd like to see them play golf underwater. But anyways, there's Armstrong's footprint right there. It's a replica to remind them where they are.
You can tell it's a replica because he's just brushed all the dust off it, all the regolith off it.
This is the way I look at it, though. I would
Right.
think that you're an engineer.
Yeah.
I want to create some new PLSSs for a new mission. This time we're going to go to the moon for real. So we're going to take it, we're going to go down and we're going to seal it all up and make it all nice and safe, put the divers in the tank for safety, and we're going to take 2 astronauts, put them in the basket, and lower them down. Why would we put life support hoses onto those astronauts when we want to test those packs? So that means that you would have the oxygen containers inside of the PLSS because that's the most important, or one of the most important pieces of equipment that you're going to have to keep you alive. If you can't breathe, you're dead.
I don't know what they're testing there because the girl swimming around beside him, she's got bare legs. Look at her. That's not the space environment if you can have bare legs. Look at her.
Yeah, when you see her later, yes, it is the same woman that they put in that Artemis suit. That, of course, failed too. That didn't work with those revolving rings on the base. You know, that just lets all the air out pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's the underwater regolith.
I like the MET cart in this version. Now it looks like a golf cart.
You see the nice footprints he's leaving behind?
Yeah, and look at the 1969 tools they've got there. Right there. The scoops with the handles, the whole 9 yards. They got the bags. They've replicated everything from Apollo.
I think they've 3D printed this tool here, you know, because it's plastic, isn't it? That looks like plastic.
Probably is.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. If it's plastic, it's going to outgas.
Yep. And it's going to melt in the heat.
Yeah.
Put it in direct sunlight, the thing will go foot and collapse. Oh, look, you've got rock with bits of metal in it.
Yeah. They should have dropped a Corvette on the set. Yeah, a little rusty Corvette.
I guess you have to know where east, west, north, and south are because they have that labeled in the tank as well. I guess that's important to know that when you're on the moon where north, south, east, and west are.
Do you think in this day and age they'd have that electric?
He's having trouble pushing it, isn't he? Look,
Yeah.
really making a big effort.
You think that'd be electric? Well, what they're testing is the 1/6 gravity and how they can push around on the lunar surface with only 1/6, how much traction they can get.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. And they can't replicate it because they've got water resistance here.
He's having trouble getting up again, isn't he?
He's got to hold his hose in place. She's going to help him.
There's the other problem. That hose could get snagged on everything, so why don't they just put the oxygen in the back of that PLSS? Put it in the back there so that they can test it all together.
Now you see where they got the slow motion in space from.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Go on, push up, guys. Come on. Up you get. Not that difficult. You're an astronaut. You're really fit. You're really healthy. Go on, push. Whoa. No, it didn't work.
He's up on his knees. Oh, he needs the cart to get up.
Yeah, he's grabbing onto the cart. Come on, pull yourself up.
You see how you could tell they're in a pool? See the head? Look at the head, looks shrunk. And that's how you could tell that they're in a pool, because you would not get that if they were not in water. That's one thing you look for. If you ever see these space pictures and all these space videos and you see that their head is shrunken like this, then you know they're in a pool. If not, you're okay. And what happens if that MET cart is not there? How is he going to get up then?
Oh, look at her clap.
Well, they always have to clap.
Oh, they're all pleased with him, aren't they?
Oh, that hose gets snagged and comes out, and he's going to be in trouble.
Of course, you'd have all these people to help you on the moon, wouldn't you?
Of course.
They have to help the news crew first because they're the first ones there.
Yep, they are. They got to report what's happening because they're smarter every day, don't forget.
The only reason why he's on there is because his father helped put together that James Webb telescope that took them 20 years to put together. And that's the reason why he's got complete access into NASA.
Ah, that's interesting. Interesting connections. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, and that's why the everyday astronaut's going to be going to space, right? Because he's the one that has the van that has NBC on it. It's his van, it's all his equipment in there, and he's the one dragging out all the wires and cords and everything else and generators, and he's the one doing the commentary with a woman beside him, and that's why they get all these perks and stuff, because they're broadcasting NASA's propaganda for free. They're not charging for it. YouTube is paying them for it, yes. But then again, YouTube is a part of the government PSYOP, is what I hear.
Yeah, same with Wikipedia. That's a government PSYOP. That's why I had my page taken down. They couldn't
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to change your name every couple of weeks, don't you? Or put your name back.
Oh, I think they'd find me because they got all these satellites watching me. Ha ha.
Well, no, you have the moon rock. You have a piece of moon rock, so you're on the hit list.
Yeah, they haven't been around to collect it yet. Come on, guys, I got my moon rock.
I was just thinking they could be making the movie Jaws 2024, where the ISS is attacked by a space shark. I mean, to be an astronaut, you have to be a scuba diver first.
Well, that seems that way.
Yeah, well, that astronaut that nearly drowned at the ISS probably happened in this pool.
Could be leaked into his helmet, didn't it?
Yeah, they didn't have enough onboard water to drown him in the little tank. They said the cooling system leaked and nearly drowned him. Well, that wouldn't happen, but it would happen in that pool.
Well, if you have a cooling system as they have on those spacesuits, how much water is that sublimation system going to be putting out?
Not very much.
How are they drowning if there's no water in those PLSSs then? If there's not enough water in there, then they're not going to be drowning, are they? In space?
No.
They shouldn't be.
If you're in a swimming pool and you get a leak in your helmet, you're going to drown pretty quick.
Oh, amazing how they can go with an 1/8-inch hole in their glove and they don't have to come in.
The more we look at it, the worse it gets. Because all the reports, let's say the reports I read today in spaceflight to do with the current starship in space, they're all basically trying to duplicate what Apollo did. But if they carry on doing that, they're not going to get very far.
When they're doing that, they said they're testing the spacesuits, right? I can see it that they're testing it for mobility, but it has nothing to do with the environment that they're putting these people into if they're going to be in space.
No, they seem to be very keen on harvesting helium-3. Having found water on the moon, water on the moon, get it? They now found helium-3, which is where lunar helium-3 comes from. They're going to tell us all about it. And they even got a vehicle which will find it. Harvesting helium-3. That's the equipment they're going to use to harvest it. Well, maybe it will. And then they're going to get it back to Earth, and it's going to take 1 kilo, will cost millions of dollars to bring it back, because it's a gas, so they have to compress it. Well, good luck with that. Basically, carrying on from Apollo. I mean, we've got a book review here. Who owns the moon? Well, no.
It's going to be rather difficult to capture a gas in the vacuum of space. Doesn't matter how they try to harvest it, like if it's so-called frozen or whatever they claim that it's existing on the moon, as soon as they touch it, it's going to dissipate.
Yeah. Well, they have to compress it. They have to capture it because it's in a vacuum when it's on the moon. They're going to have to capture it, compress it, and make it a liquid to get back to Earth. Well, that's going to take a lot of equipment. Well, they're claiming thousands of square kilometers of helium-3 rich property to be harvested. Oh, dear, oh dear. But helium-3 doesn't reach the Earth, does it? Guess why? Radiation belts don't allow it on there, so it's all on the moon.
Yeah, I like how this article says not everyone is in agreement that helium-3 will produce a safe fusion solution. In an article, Fears Over Factoids in 2007, the theoretical physicist Frank Close famously described the concept as moonshine. Either way, it seems we will have to be patient to find out the answers. It'll be interesting, even more so, to find out just how much helium-3 is supposedly on the lunar surface.
Well,
They claim it's abundant, and there's one that says it's worth $4 billion per ton. That's probably calculated. That's how much it's going to cost per ton to get it.
Well, that's the cost of a rocket or two, 4 billion, yeah. And for the people to build it, and for the people to bring it back, it's probably not far off it. It's amazing what you can do with CGI these days.
They claim that the helium-3 is on the lunar surface because of the solar wind, bringing it there. And it said, of course, this is an isotope that can be used, a much safer version for nuclear energy. And it is not radioactive, so it would not produce dangerous waste products.
That's useful.
Well, then why can't they produce helium-3 here?
Good question. Because it's the decay of tritium, which is the product of plutonium and nuclear bombs. That's what they're claiming. It's all very dangerous stuff, this. I expect they'll get there one day, and they bring it back and find it doesn't work. Oh, I'm too cynical, aren't I? Cynicism is quite a useful property in terms of examining claims.
It says lithium nucleus absorbs a neutron and splits into helium-4 and tritium. Tritium decays into helium-3 with a half-life of 12.3 years. So helium-3 can be produced by simply storing tritium until it undergoes radioactive decay. So it'd be much cheaper to manufacture it here.
It would. Earth's magnetosphere prevents helium-3 from accumulating on Earth naturally because it's not good for us here on Earth, obviously. The small amount of helium-3 present on Earth is the result of tritium decay from nuclear weapons and reactors. Whoops. So if you're going to get helium-3 from the moon, you've got to look after it very carefully, otherwise you're going to have a problem.
It said you would have to mine 60,500,000 tons of lunar regolith to harvest 1 ton of helium-3.
Wow. That's a lot of harvesting.
60.5 million tons.
And the company doing it is called Interloon, based in Seattle, Washington State. Interloon, that calls itself a natural resources company, aims to launch its first helium-3 prospecting mission in 2026 and to eventually mine the isotope for the quantum computing sector and other customers. Dear, oh dear. So it's quantum computing that's driving this. So watch out for the helium-3 transport.
Yeah, well, maybe Mount St. Helens will help with the mining.
Oh dear.
What do you think of that, eh? Or maybe Yellowstone, when it goes off, will help with the mining of helium-3.
Well, you know what they say, that famous quote from Richard Feynman, nature cannot be fooled. Maybe NASA are beginning to discover that nature cannot be fooled, no matter the requirements of PR and propaganda. You can do what you like with that, but if you're trying to create from nature, you've got to be willing to accept that nature has its own rules, one of which is don't break the nature rules. It won't work.
Yeah, well, I guess if we have a big enough explosion, we could probably bring back the dinosaurs.
I don't think the dinosaurs ever left. That's what crocodiles are, isn't it? Tortoises, they're all dinosaur-type animals, been around for millions of years.
Well, our bird species are definitely right up there.
Yeah, birds developed from dinosaurs, we're told, or evolved from dinosaurs, correct word?
Well, I don't know. That's really strange, you know. If you take a seed from an oak tree and put it away in a vault somewhere, like they do up in where? Antarctica?
Yeah.
You come back in a million years and plant that seed, guess what you're going to get?
An oak
tree. Yeah.
Of course you are. Nature cannot be fooled.
No.
Nature knows exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, and then we showed up.
Yeah, we show up and cause all manner of problems. That video that FaZe has put out, I find that quite useful. It'd be nice if it had a wider circulation. It only goes to his 150 subscribers, so it's not widely viewed.
60 views.
60, is that all?
Did you watch it 2 or 3 times? Is that how it got up to there?
He's mentioned you by name and by picture, and he has a special nickname for you as well. So he's obviously thinking very hard about it. Has one for me and one for Robert. Same old stuff. He's obviously concentrating very hard because it must take him quite a while to create those videos.
I don't think so, because he takes all the graphics from our videos, you know, and it's already done. All he does is sticks it in his editor and cuts it up, throws it together there and puts his little spin on it, and that's it.
Throws a voiceover.
Yeah, and by the way, it's text, right? So what happens? He has to sit and type all the text in there. That's the only thing that's taken him time, is putting the text in there. Or maybe now, these days, he just reads or talks into the microphone and it just keeps writing the text out.
Yeah.
But he won't even use his voice. At least I use my real voice. He won't even go that far. He won't even do that.
Yeah, because he works at NASA, and therefore he can't allow them to find out who it is. Otherwise, everybody will encourage him. He's on NASA's anti-science brigade. Because if we're considered to be anti-science, that we don't agree with what NASA are doing, you've got to have somebody to point it out. The trouble is he hasn't got enough views to shift the dial. It just doesn't work. I mean, your films, Robert, get a couple of thousand within a few days. It's remarkable, even with YouTube taking it down half the time.
You know, sometimes you get more on BitChute. For example, you usually get 1,000 views in, 18 hours on YouTube. Yeah. But over on BitChute, you'll get that in half a day.
Really?
But that's until they change this. Now that they've put this so that you can monetize your videos over there, our views have just gone down the drain. They make 250, 300, that's it. You know, so it's happening there too.
There are obviously people out there who are actually quite worried about what we're doing. And what you're doing, Robert, posting the videos, which are good, well-created, accurate videos. There are people out there who are very worried about it. I mean, I had my Wikipedia page taken down. You see the latest issue of Nexus. It has a big article all about how Wikipedia are a government psyop. That one, The Hidden Hands Behind Wikipedia, is one of the articles. Interesting. People who are behind Wikipedia, who control it. It's not a free encyclopedia. It's a PSY operation. You heard of Catherine Maher, M-A-H-E-R, in charge of Wikipedia. She's also a world economic young global leader. The hidden hands behind Wikipedia. So wait for your magazine to arrive. Anybody else who wants it, it's available now. If you look at who does the editing. I added a few things to my Wikipedia page before it got taken down. That's Catherine Maher. There you go. She worked at World Bank prior to Wikipedia.
She's the CEO of National Public Radio.
One of the editors on Wikipedia, #1 editor, is Stephen Pruitt. He works at US Customs and Border Protection in Washington, and he has edited 2.5 million times because he has automatic tools that can do it. AutoWiki Browser, a semi-autonomous tool. So when anybody, such as me or you or anybody, makes some comment about Apollo, which isn't part of the narrative, it can be immediately picked up and removed by the editors of Wikipedia. So the information does not get out there. That's the problem.
With Wikipedia, can't anyone edit that?
Yes, they can. come along behind and correct the edits. I mean, there are stories of people who have found errors in their own personal biographies on Wikipedia, and they're not allowed to edit them. This is a very strange organization. I mean, that's recounted in the article. Who writes for Wikipedia?
Man, they control one hell of a pile of media.
Yeah, because Wikipedia is used by so many people for information. But I use it for facts. I don't use it for opinions. You know, you try posting something about climate change on Wikipedia that doesn't follow the narrative, and you're out. Exactly. Throat cut. Off you go. Here's a quote. Wikipedia ruins reputations by allowing anonymous people to talk trash about high-profile individuals and blocking them from re-editing their pages. How is that a free encyclopedia? It's a propaganda tool. Let's get real about it.
What about this context when you post a video on YouTube? You get the context. This one here popped up yesterday, actually, because this was the new video that went out. Now it has the context on it.
Right.
So it had been out for about 13, 14 hours, and then the context went on there. So I'm wondering if this context is the same people that are putting this up here. Yeah. I just don't understand it, because sometimes you'll get it and sometimes you won't.
It depends how quickly it's spotted by people who don't agree with what you're posting. Hence, they say it has to be in context.
That little listing there will wake you up. NPR, all programs A to Z.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, all programs.
Yeah, everything that you want to talk about, except what's interesting is that they have the hosts of the shows that are being broadcast here. There's one called Planet Money. I like that. They distribute Earth and Sky.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Who was that guy I had a bit of an argument with? He was a PR chap from some astronomy organization in America and got quite upset with me when I said that Apollo wasn't real.
When you're controlling this much media, it's into politics, it's into the world news, it's into the stock market.
Parents' Journal, People's Pharmacy.
Oh, yeah, I like the one at the very bottom, Youth Radio.
I mean, basically, it's been around for years, that one, NPR. It's always accepted that it's the government outlet, like those things that CIA set up years ago, Liberty Radio and Free Europe Radio. It's all CIA propaganda. As soon as you know that, you could take it into account.
NPR was founded in 1970.
What's the point of it?
They just want to control nationally what's being put out there.
But how did they control it, though? What did they do?
Well, they were the first ones that were putting together the first pre-programming of music for, the top 50 and all of that stuff.
Oh, okay. Now I get it.
Okay. And then they're just getting into everything else. They're going to control who's going to be a star and who isn't, right?
There's the phrase, the 4 a.m. talking points. You heard that phrase? Where what is going to appear on the next day's television and in publications is decided and disseminated to the major newsrooms, both print and television. Those are the subjects which are going to be discussed. So if you've ever asked yourself the question, why is every television station reporting the same story? That's the answer, because that's what they're told to report. And it's extraordinary. They use the same phrases across, in America, 50 different television stations.
Well, this is Operation Mockingbird times 2.
Of course it is. Operation Mockingbird's been in operation for years. Was it the 60s it started? Anybody who doesn't know what Operation Mockingbird is, check it out. Major article published in Rolling Stone, I think it was. 25,000 word article about it. The control of the media.
There's a video showing what happened. The CIA went into the news stations and planted their people in there, and they were the ones that told them what you're putting out.
Yeah, and what you're not putting out.
I understand now, was it George Orwell that wrote that book, 1984?
That's right.
I saw that movie when it first came out. It was really something to see, because now you're seeing it. It was kind of hidden back then, but now you're actually seeing it come to life.
And of course, don't forget who George Orwell worked for when he wrote that book. He worked for the BBC, and he could see it firsthand. George Orwell was a pseudonym when he published his books. We're now seeing 1984 for real, as he described it. newspeak. You know, if you say things you're not permitted to say, you get removed. We know it happens. Personally, I've experienced it. So, and anybody tell me that Operation Mockingbird isn't for real? Let's not forget, George Orwell, Eric Blair was a member of the Fabian Society in the UK. The Fabian Society still exists. It's a socialist left-wing pressure group. And a lot of politicians in the UK are members of it, especially the Labour Party. So remember that name, the Fabian Society. You've got all these people, they're all linked together. They have a political viewpoint, which they express in code almost. If you know what the code is, you know who the people are, you know what they work for, you can spot it all. It's quite easy. And then you can discount it as being socialist propaganda. So yeah, it's an interesting article. I think you'll find it worth reading because it explains quite a lot about the problems with Wikipedia, which is not a free encyclopedia. It's a propaganda exercise. Propaganda exercise.